Welcome to Geer Talk.
Talking gear.
That's not Brandon. That's Zach Rickard, everybody.
It's me. Hi, everybody.
Zach, thank you for joining Geer Talk.
Definitely. Happy to be here.
Very happy to have you, man.
Awesome.
I mean, geez, it's about time we got you onto a Geer Talk set.
I know. I'm super excited. Can't wait to get started.
Feels good?
Feels good.
Zach, tell the people just a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What the heck is going on here?
Oh, gosh. So I've been working at Audio Gear now for 20 years as of yesterday.
20 years?
20 years.
One more.
You guys are awesome. That was killer.
We did it.
We did it.
Surprise.
What's your favorite kind of cake? Cheesecake?
Cheesecake.
How would we know that?
Oh, my goodness.
Now, the
Whoa.
picture didn't come out exactly as we had hoped, but all the love is in there.
Oh, man.
There you
Thank
go,
you,
buddy.
guys.
Right,
And you guys got all these pictures.
Boss is here for a hug.
This is so cool. Unexpected. Thank you,
This
Shane.
was not part of rehearsal. Live TV.
Wow, that was very unexpected.
As it turns out, Geer Talk has been an elaborate scheme. The whole thing has been leading up to a surprise 20-year anniversary party for Zach.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Although I do feel like we're gonna knock this over.
Yes, we should move the cake.
All right, we're gonna eat that promptly afterwards. 20
Wow.
years, man. How does it feel?
It feels really good, actually. You know, Audio Gear has been more than a job. You know, it's more of a family. All you guys, I really appreciate everything, and I love what I do and get to talk about a bunch of cool gear. That's kind of why we're here today.
If you haven't run into Zach at Audio Gear in the last 20 years, you are not in the music industry in Southern California. So it is about time you got your due. So
yeah,
congratulations,
definitely.
my
Thank
man.
you. Appreciate it.
I'm only 10 years behind you.
Nope. Only
Taught me
10.
everything I know.
Well, come on. He's really good at what he does.
Well, very cool, man. So while we would love to just tell Zach stories, which could probably pretty easily fill an hour, I think we've all got some good Zach stories. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, gosh, we're here to talk about Zoom. Zoom makes a wide range of products. I mean, when I was working at Guitar Center back in 1998, right before I started here, I used to sell Zoom guitar pedals, and that's all I really knew Zoom about. Now
That's kind of the funny origin story of Zoom, right? I mean, most people know them for what we're going to talk about today, but man, guitar pedals back in the 90s, which are probably vintage appeal at this point now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're probably out there on like some secondhand market for 10 times what they sold for back then.
definitely, but I mean, you fast forward 22 years, and it's amazing where they've gotten. Right? We're talking handy recorders, field recorders, mixers, cameras, still guitar effects processors, vocal effects processors,
All kinds of stuff, right? So
mean,
this is
tons of
live
stuff.
track, recorder with faders.
This is the V3 vocal processor, right?
We're
also
still
have-
doing guitar multi-effects processors, the G11.
Yep, G11.
Look out for a future Geer Talk episode featuring vocal processing and guitar multi-effects from Alan Geer and Mike Cromer. We're committing them, surprise commitment for Geer Talk 2021.
Definitely.
Singer-songwriter duo. What else we got?
Oh, we also have the H3 VR, which is the 360-degree virtual reality microphone. So anybody that's doing that 360 virtual reality kind of feel, and you want to have the audio follow along with what you're looking at, this is a perfect piece for you.
So there are all sorts of Zoom items. Now, we had to narrow in our focus just a little bit today because, frankly, there's been a blitz of new products from Zoom this year. And in a little bit, we're going to be talking to Samuel Green from Zoom. Justin, can we check in on Samuel? Is he with us? There he is.
Hi,
Sam,
Sam.
give us a wave. Awesome. So we're going to have a little bit of a deep dive discussion with Sam on some of the new products. So stay tuned if you're curious about P4, PodTrack, P8, H8, F8N, F6.
Yeah.
All of that we're going to dive into with Sam. But why don't we just, generally speaking, well, how do we want to start here?
Well, actually, there's been a bunch of stuff flying through everybody's inboxes, of course. So a little bit of a news update, I would think.
Yeah. A classic Geer Talk
Talking gear.
segment. What have you archived lately? What came across your inbox? You're working from home. You just were like, archive. The H3 VR.
Yes, the H3 VR. We did have a price reduction, so now the H3 VR is now $249. So it's down. Great price for the product. It's going to hit a lot of markets.
Yeah, holiday season. So if you've been thinking about getting into VR, 360 audio, now is really the best time to get into that H3, figure it out for maybe the first time, your first go at that. Zoom making it easy, lowering that barrier to entry into 360 sound audio for VR. As we mentioned, all the new products that you've seen lately. So what looks different about an H4n and an H6 these days?
I mean, physically, in regards to an H4 and an H6, of course, you have very nice handy recorders, but recorders, I mean, I gotta ask, why do we even need recorders nowadays?
Real quick though, what you might notice what they look like is these are the all black versions.
That's right.
What we elder millennial and Gen Xers are referring to as the Knight Rider edition of the H6 and the H4n. I like to think that someone at Zoom corporate is a fan of the New Zealand rugby team, who I think's nickname is the All Blacks.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
So you might have seen that come across lately. The H4 and the H6 is still those core products. Well, what they are is still the same. They're just got a new redesign.
Yep, definitely. Yeah. Same exact product inside, right? Just a new colorway.
Yeah, something cool. So if you had an old H4n and it's been getting beat up and maybe it's time to just replace it, now you got a cool new all black version to go with.
Definitely. Well, speaking of these recorders, I mean, it's 2020. I have a cell phone. My cell phone has a camera, it has a microphone, recording stop, kind of everything there. So why would I even really want one of these handheld recorders?
Yeah, and that's still a very common question we get is, I have so many devices that record audio already. Why do I need this whole separate device to record audio? Well, think about it this way. If you're doing audio for film, you've got a certain point of view of your camera, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you're following a person from behind. That's the camera shot you want. Well, it's going to be really hard to get a good audio capture if your camera is not relatively close to your sound source and pointed straight at them.
Gotcha.
With the separate audio recorder, we have flexibility. Now, if I've got more than one subject who I need to capture, maybe I only have one microphone built into my phone. Now I can have one microphone on each interview subject, like we are today.
What we're wearing. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So, exactly. Justin, I think we got a graphic. There we go. So you've got lots more options. As soon as you start capturing audio separately on a dedicated audio recorder, now we can do things like pick the right microphone for the job.
Yeah, definitely. So a really cool thing with a lot of these recorders is we're going to give you 2 XLR 1/4-inch combos and 4, of course, as we go up in the models. But that gives you the ability to be able to use your favorite microphone, right? Microphones are like painter brushes, right? Everybody loves their favorite microphone. So this gives you the ability to bring in all your other gear and bring it into the recording at the same time with still being able to utilize the stereo XY microphone that's installed.
Yeah, for us audio professionals, right, picking the right microphone, that's kind of the fun part.
Yeah.
I might like one, you might like another, and that kind of adds to our sound as the audio engineer. Now you get to have your favorite collection of microphones and really not be limited to the microphone built into your camera or built into your phone. Now you get to choose what works best for your application.
Awesome.
So the H4n, though, we've got 2 mics on top. What are those doing for us, Zach?
So these are your built-in stereo microphones, which you can set to be at 120 or 90 degrees in regards to your stereo separation. Built in here, you have your SD card slot, so you can set and to record. What are the 2 cards that you can use on these bad boys? SD and SD Plus, right?
Yes.
All right, beautiful. But a very, very killer little piece. So it's really a 4-track recorder. So you have your 4 separate tracks, 2 from here and 2 from here. So can I bring in line level devices into here too?
Yeah, that's what the XLR, that's what the combo jack is doing, is giving you a 1/4-inch input if you need it. So depending on what your hardware is, if you've got a balanced XLR output, maybe you've got an unbalanced or balanced 1/4-inch plug it right into the H4n still. Same thing.
Perfect.
But it is what it is, right? What you see is what you get.
Yep.
Which if this is what's right for you, then perfect, really, it's there. When we get into the H5, we can do a pretty nifty magic trick here, Zach. Why don't you,
Well, What happened there?
It is not broken. We are not at the point where we're intentionally breaking hardware on Geer Talk.
Talking gear. And the really cool thing I love about the H5 is it really expands your ability to change your top two microphones. It's going to come with a shock mount XY mic right out the box, which is nice. But I can take this off and I can introduce a shotgun microphone, a stereo shotgun microphone, a raw mid-side, an extra 2 channels, so I can put an extra 2 XLRs on the top. So it really is more versatile than the H4n Pro because I have that mix and match of options that I'm able to put into it.
And those are all specific Zoom accessories. So like the stereo shotgun mic, which I think some of you might be sitting back saying, stereo shotgun mic, that seems kind of counterintuitive or a bit of an oxymoron there. But what we're doing is we're decoding that stereo input, and the handheld recorder is giving you the option to adjust the stereo image.
Yep.
So with the shotgun microphone, you can get very narrow or somewhat broad.
Yeah.
With the mid-side microphone, you can get somewhat broad to very broad, and you have flexibility within that range.
Definitely.
The standard XY mics you get are great, but they are fixed in one of those 2 positions, 90 or 120.
Yep.
So again, options, flexibility, right tool for the application.
Exactly.
That's what you're getting as you move from an H4 to an H5 to an
H6. And an H6, cool little story on this thing. I was thoroughly impressed one of the first times I walked into a radio studio. We were going to do a radio interview, and I was expecting a whole bunch of outboard gear. And when I walked in, the entire show was being ran on this H6. We had 4 different interviewers all plugged into the 4 microphone inputs that we have here. It was set up as an interface, streaming out to the guy's computer. He was using his streaming software, and we sat down and did the entire radio show right from the H6. Very, very powerful piece. Similar to the H5, where you have the interchangeable capsules. The cool part is all of the accessories for the H5 will also work for the H6 as well. So, right, very, very, very interchangeable. So just wanted to let you know, this H6 gives you up to a total of 6 channels of recorded audio. So as you go from an H4 to an H5 to an H6, you can kind of see the progression of what you're getting from one to the other.
And wait, Zach, you said they were direct streaming from this device?
Direct streaming.
Okay, so the H6 is gathering my audio inputs,
Yep.
microphone preamps, phantom power if I need it, mixing, dynamics, and then USB connectivity for an interface direct to your PC.
Yep, direct to the PC. And
Awesome.
this thing ran the entire show flawlessly.
And again, the user-friendly aspect of these, so all you're really doing to get audio at its simplest level is turn the unit on, record, enable a track, and hit the record button. And at the end of our Geer Talk today, we're actually going to walk you through setting up a recorder from start to finish.
Yeah.
A couple cool things about the H6 we want to mention. We've all had those moments, right, where maybe the talent kind of started talking before you told them to go. And then they never want to stop and go back. We've got a pre-record function
Yes.
that you can enable. And basically, the microphones are listening. They're being stored in basically a buffer. And when you hit the record button, you're getting the previous 2 seconds from when you hit record that's being written to the SD card.
Now I have to buy an H6 to get that feature?
So again, lots of these features in the handheld series are going to be consistent across the line.
Oh, awesome.
Really, your H4 to your H6 to your H8, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, the difference is inputs and outputs.
Yep, gotcha.
So pre-record, really cool one. Backup record.
What is backup record?
We've also had that moment, right, where maybe you do sound check. Maybe everybody gets their level set, and you're trying to get the talent to perform as close to what their real performance is going to be, but inevitably they're louder than you expected. So the backup record will take whatever audio is coming in from the stereo mic input. Again, whatever module you've got plugged in there, and it will record a duplicate track at 10 dB down. So if your drummer really laid into that drum solo and clipped the input, you've got a file that is 10 dB lower as a backup.
Okay, so it's kind of an extra layer of protection for you.
Yep, and these days storage is so relatively cheap, right? You can get a 64 gig SD card, right, and record these backup tracks just to have that extra kind of layer of security, and that's just a feature we enable right on the H6, and then that's it. It's done.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Last one we want to mention is the auto record.
Yes.
So maybe you're recording yourself. Maybe you want to set up your camera. Maybe you want to set up your microphones. Maybe you want to walk over to your instrument or start your voiceover. We can set a threshold. So when the audio signal is over the threshold, we automatically start recording.
Gotcha. So that way, if I go in and I forget to hit record, it's just going to automatically go once I start.
Exactly.
All right. So again,
Exactly.
Exactly.
And you can mix and match and combine all of these things.
Okay.
Right. So you're not limited to one or the other. These are features you're enabling or not. It's totally up to you. That's what you get when you get a handheld recorder.
Awesome. And am I set to one type of file format or?
No, again, that's up to you for storage purposes.
Yep.
Maybe you're just running out of a space on the SD card, or maybe you're just recording some scratch vocals and you can lower it all the way down to an MP3. Or if you want the maximum quality possible, you get up to 24-bit, 96K, 192. We're going to get into some of the F series.
Yep.
Maybe that's our segue here. Look at us.
Hey.
Here on Geer Talk doing segues.
Talking gear.
We're going to get into an example using 32-bit float with the F6 and why that is really, really cool.
But we're jumping the gun.
Yeah, I feel like
We're jumping the gun
Too
though,
excited.
because we went from an H4, then we went to the H5, now we went to the H6, but we have a brand new one we want to show.
That's true. We do
Yeah.
have a brand new one. There is an H8. Now the H8 is a bit hard to come by these days. Even we don't have one.
No,
We're
we
trying
don't.
to get as many of these out into the world to frankly meet the demand.
Yeah.
If you've really enjoyed the H series you've got, but it still doesn't have enough inputs, now we've got the H8. And for that, let's go over to Samuel from Zoom.
Hey, Sam.
Samuel, can you hear us? If you can hear us, we can't hear you.
Hey, sorry about
There
that.
we go.
There he is. Samuel from Zoom. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
We're doing good, man. We got, frankly, a party over here. We should have shipped you some confetti poppers so you could celebrate on your side.
I felt a little left out, if we're being honest.
We apologize. It is never our intention to leave you out here at Geer Talk.
Talking gear.
Samuel, tell us a little bit about who you are. There might be folks out there who've seen you doing various videos or product demonstrations. How long you been at Zoom? What are you doing? How can people get to know you?
Sure. So I'm a product specialist here at Zoom, and that means that I work with all the various departments within our company to make sure that everyone knows about our products, but also that the public knows everything they can about our products, as well as the dealers that sell them. So that means I travel around, I visit our dealers, I go to trade shows, I do videos for our YouTube channel and for a variety of other YouTube channels. Always have a lot of fun getting on a live stream just like this one to talk about gear, because really that is what I love doing, talking about gear. And like you guys said, it has been an exciting year so far for Zoom, and luckily it's not even over yet.
Yeah.
Wow, it's not even over yet, huh?
Ooh.
Wow, that's a
Interesting.
Can we do a freeze frame on that wink, wink, nudge, nudge? I mean, it really has been an incredible year for new products from Zoom. I mean, we ran down several up at the top, but I don't frankly think there's been a year like this,
Yeah.
at least in recent memory, right?
No, nothing like this, where we've got the podcasting recorders and the H8 and our vocal processor and the G11 earlier this year. It's been a whirlwind over here for sure.
Well, can we dive into that H8? We're very excited.
We can, and I have it right here. And this has been really fun because we've been making handheld audio recorders, and with the H6 in 2013, we introduced the interchangeable capsules. And for us, that plus having 4 inputs on the unit made it a product that is going to grow with you through your work and as that expands. And the H8 is really a culmination of that, because not only have we added extra inputs and kept that capsule input capsule system, but we've now included a touch screen which has allowed us to not only have a recorder that works well for a bunch of different applications, but there's actually different apps on here. So the Field app, the Music app, and the Podcast app, and that's actually going to customize the user interface of the H8 to those applications, making it even easier for you to use.
Oh. And that's really been something that is really your response to kind of user feedback, right? Because there are so many people who use their H series for music, for production, for voiceover, for field work, and really you're just helping them get to the features that speak to that application as fast as possible.
Absolutely. And more so these days, it seems like content creators are existing in multiple of these fields, you know, musicians making video content, video people making podcasts. And the H8 really helps uh, those people because it really will change itself to best fit those needs.
Gotcha. Can you take us so top down? Now we recognize the XY mics, right? So we're
Yeah.
same XY as the H6.
This is the same XY as the H6, and you can use any of the capsules from the H5 and the H6 with this product, but we're also going to have some new capsules coming out later this year that will only work with the H8. And the reason that is will actually be 4-channel capsules rather than 2-channel like the previous capsules. So we're going to have a capsule that adds 4 extra XLR inputs, which brings it to a total of 10 on this one portable recorder. We're going to have some microphones similar to the H3VR, an ambisonics mic array, so you could do 360 recording, and we'll have some other stuff coming in the future as well. But then I just want to point out on the sides your 6 inputs here, because you've got 4 regular XLRs that's in the corners, and those are going to be for mic or line level. But you also have these combo inputs on the sides, and those you can plug mic line or instruments directly in. There's a little high Z switch on here, so you can record guitars and basses directly into the H8. We've even put in the ability to load effects from our Guitar Lab. It's the same exact effects you get with our guitar effects processors, but you can load them onto the H8 and apply them to your channels.
Hold on, back up there for a second. So now my handy recorder is my guitar effects processor?
It is. And you get, when you enter the music app, you even get nice faders for each one of your inputs. It makes it very easy to record music out in the field or in the studio, because like the rest of the audio recorders we offer, this can be used as an audio interface.
We're talking like effects like flange, phaser, chorus. It's not just compression and reverb.
Nope, distortions and reverbs and delays and flangers, the whole thing. Anything that you can put on one of our guitar effect pedals, you can load into the H8.
Brave new world.
Brave.
Makes you glad you lived this long. I mean, really, right? That H8 is going to become kind of the hub of so many different aspects of what Zoom does across the product catalog, is all kind of overlapping into the H8.
It really is that culmination, and the application of the touchscreen here has given us a lot of ideas on how to treat other products in our line, and what touchscreens can do. And you saw it in our guitar effects pedals. The G11 featured a touchscreen, and we're going to be talking about another product in a couple minutes with a touchscreen.
That's why we like talking to you, Sam. you got the good inside info. You're in the building. We want one, man.
Yes.
We got to get one out here in Southern California. So very, very cool. So there's a ton to talk about with the H8, but I feel like there's a ton more coming with the other hardware. Real quick, tell us about the podcast application specific features of the H8.
Yes.
Before we move into the PodTrack series.
Sure. So when you load up the podcast app on the H8, you get 4 sound pads right on the screen. So you can load in any WAV file, assign it to one of those pads. So while you're recording, you could trigger intro music and sound effects. We have some sound effects pre-built in for you. You get your main meters over here, and then you have your inputs, plug in up to 4 microphones in the podcast app, because the sound pads do take over inputs 3 and 4. So you have your capsule plus the 4 inputs, and you're recording a podcast.
Zach, I think we need to do an AM radio themed Geer Talk.
Yes.
We're AM radio sports guys, so we can do the drive time,
I love it.
So I can literally record a sample with my H8 and then straight load that back into one of the sound pads, right, to trigger during a podcast.
Yep, you can.
Very, very cool. Okay, so obviously another Geer Talk
Talking gear.
segue coming at you here. Let's go from H8 to pod track. So where do you want to start, Sam? P4, P8? P4?
Let's talk about the P4 because it's really, it takes that handheld audio recorder format that we love with the H series and adds every feature you could imagine a podcaster could want. I've actually got two on my table right now because I'm using one as my audio device for this stream, and I've got another one here to show you. And having such a small package with these podcasting features and being able to bring it anywhere is so important nowadays, with people on the road all the time trying to capture cool things, make their content unique. And the P4 helps you do that. You've got 4 mic inputs on top, 4 headphones on the bottom. Obviously, when you're recording a podcast, everybody that's talking also needs to be hearing what's going on.
Yeah,
that's a great point. And I think something people kind of forget when they start to get into the podcast world. Let's hold up the H4n on our side. We've got a single headphone monitor point. So that's a great, like if I'm the engineer, right, and I've got a couple of people having a conversation, but that becomes somewhat limiting, right? There's 2 mic inputs, 1 headphone output, but now I can have all 4 of my podcast talent monitor themselves. What about if they, excuse me, need to call someone?
Yeah.
So recording remote interviews is another huge thing that podcasters need to be able to do. Only a few years ago, it was very, very hard to pull off because it's easy to get audio from your phone into a recorder, but that person also has to be able to hear you. And not only that, but they can't be hearing themselves and getting a feedback loop or hearing echo. So on this unit, there's a TRRS jack. It's an 1/8 inch, so it looks the same as your headphone jack, but it's a TRRS special cable, and that allows for 2-way communication. So plug that into your phone using an adapter if necessary, plug the other side into the P4, and that phone is going to come in on channel 3, and you're going to be able to have your hosts talking to that guest. They're going to be able to hear all of the hosts and not themselves, so you won't get any echo or feedback. You can do that as well through USB with Zoom call or Google Meet, whatever you use. And there's the mix minus option when you're doing USB as well. And you can even do the phone interview and the computer interview at the same time. So 2 remote guests, 2 hosts sitting at a desk, all being recorded into one audio recorder.
And something that fits in your hand. What's battery life on that thing, Sam?
So you can get up to 14 hours on 2 AA's that go in the back. If you need extra battery life, you can power through the USB port, either from a wall or from a USB battery pack, the same one that you would use to charge your phone.
Awesome. Very cool. I mean, a simultaneous phone call and connected to a web conference call at the same time. I mean, that is an amazing amount of functionality for something that small, you know, and that compact. I don't think there's anything really doing that right now.
So, absolutely, and it's a unique thing that is 100% necessary for making podcasts. And so finally, we have this podcast recorder with it out of the box. It does it by itself. You just need to plug in the phone or the computer.
Now I know a lot of podcasters, they use some mics that want a little bit of juice, right? You got the SM7B, of course, which is the end all be all. You have the RE20, right, that I've seen out there as well. But those require sometimes an additional preamp to kind of get them up to a nominal level. Is that the case with this? Am I going to have to bring a mic, a cloud lift, and the P4, or
so
how does that handle it?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. Those are popular microphones.
Exactly.
They're very hungry.
Give Sam an exactly. All right.
And so we have put 70 dB of gain into each of these mic inputs, plenty of power for those microphones, so you won't need to bring that cloud lifter along when you're recording a podcast.
So let me just back up. I could plug my SM7B directly into that, turn it up, and I'm going to have enough gain.
Correct.
Beautiful.
70 dB. Wow, that is great. And so that's common, right, from P4 and P8?
Correct.
Got it. Can we see that P8, Sam?
and transitioning. So the P4 has started shipping out to the market, but this guy, the P8,
Ooh.
has not. And really, I can't tell you how excited I am about this one. Because it takes all of the great features of a P4, the ability to record remote interviews via uh, phone or USB
Hey,
with
hey Sam,
the
I'm
sound
sorry to
cards.
interrupt, but that beautiful P8 is just in between you and the microphone.
Oh, sorry there.
There
There
we
we
That
go.
go.
better?
There's
All
the
right.
9 dB we needed. Now we've got an L8 on our side,
Yep.
which is something that looks similar and is part of the live
Yeah,
track
lower.
series, but is oh, did I not do a good
Yeah,
job?
there we
There
go.
we go. But it is missing some key things for the podcast world that the P8 has got.
Yep. So the L8 does have the phone input and it does have the sound pads, but not as many and in a much more limited fashion. With this, your phone calls are very easy. We even sell an adapter, Bluetooth adapter that you can plug in so you can wirelessly connect your phone. That works with the P4 as well. You have 9 sound pads on here. You could actually even have 4 banks of 9 sound pads, so up to 36
Oh, wow.
sounds loaded at once. Um, 6 headphone outputs, which is an upgrade from your L8. And then this touchscreen, which is going to make it so much easier to do your adjustments, where you can go in, you have a nice tone adjustment, a nice compressor de-esser adjustment, and you have the ability to not only record, but to edit. So for the P4 and the PA, you're always recording individual tracks, which you could transfer to your computer to mix. It also records at the same time a stereo mix. And in the P8, you can actually load those stereo mixes right on the touchscreen and edit them, fade in, fade out, adding background music, loudness maximization to get that volume you need before you upload your podcast. That could all be done in the box with the P8. So it could take you from initial recording all the way through to finished products.
Wow, I did notice a couple of colors on there. What is the color scheme about?
So especially when we're getting to talk about 6 microphones running on one table, the organization of a session is something we thought we could help with at the recorder. And so we have some color coordination between your faders and your inputs and your headphone outputs to make sure it's easier for you to track where your cables are going. And really the point is you need to be able to fix issues as quickly as possible while you're recording, and that color coordination helps you do that.
I guess the idea is you guys have thought of all of these things, right? These are the little things that come up when you go to start something like a podcast. Oh, when somebody calls in, I got to make sure they don't hear themselves. Oh, everybody needs to monitor in headphones. All of these little details are well thought out, right? These are frankly problems you got to solve as soon as you decide to start one of these things.
Absolutely. And from our side, it can get deep. Even the placement of inputs and outputs on a recorder like this has implications at the time of recording that we think through to try to make sure we make it the best it could be for all of the users.
Awesome. So very cool. Now
Very slick.
you said P4 available now, P8 coming soon.
Coming soon, yeah.
Gotcha. And is there any like glasses off, like wink wink things we should also know about? There we go.
With the Podtrack series, no, these 2 units have been a real labor of love for everybody at Zoom. Podcasting has been growing the last few years, and we are just happy that we have gotten these 2 recorders out into the market.
Okay, so we got a lot of things now that have 8 in the part number, right? So we talked about H8, L8, P8. Let's just round out the club. We've got here an F8N, which is part of our F series or field production. We're also going to talk about the F6. But Sammy, can you just sort of draw a line for us with what makes the F series distinct in the Zoom lineup?
Sure. So the F series, the field recorder series, the main thought behind them is audio for film. And there are specific features that are needed in that world, and that especially in a professional setting, to make sure you can do what you need to do. On top of those very specific features, there's also an audio quality upgrade to the F series. It is the best preamps we offer. You have extra outputs, which is important on a film set. So it is designed for audio for film, but for anybody looking to take that audio quality upgrade, go to the next step, the F series is where you go.
I always hear, things like, oh, we've increased the quality of the preamp. And I think that's one of those things that we kind of hear and we don't necessarily know how to translate into what does that mean for me practically speaking. What is a spec like minus 127 dBu in relation to the preamp? How does that translate to what I'm going to experience when I use it?
Sure. So that spec you just mentioned is noise floor, and what that means is how much noise is the electronics making that is going to get into my recording. And obviously, you want that to be as low as possible because the audio you're actually trying to capture needs to be heard over that. And if your noise floor is too loud, you're going to hear that in your recording. So when we talk about upgrading preamps, one of the main things that means is reducing that noise floor further so that more clean audio comes through at the time of recording. And that is especially important in 24-bit and 16-bit linear formats.
Awesome. And I think that's a great point, right?
Yep.
If you find yourself in need of recording very, very quiet sounds, then you're going to need something that has that very, very low noise floor, very high quality mic preamps. Samuel, what about very loud sounds? Maybe we can talk about the F6 and 32-bit float. You just mentioned 16-bit, 24-bit. What happens with my dynamics? The hardest thing for many audio engineers is your gain staging, setting your gain levels to match the input signal you're going to see from your talent. What are we doing about very, very loud signals?
Sure. So I'm going to paint a picture initially of 16-bit and 24-bit so that we can understand 32-bit float best.
Okay.
So in linear formats like 16 and 24-bit, when a signal comes in, if it's at a loud volume, it's going to get processed at a high bit rate, which is going to be the best quality it can be. If it comes in at a low volume, it's going to be recorded at a lesser quality, at a lower bit rate. We've all heard 8-bit audio, classic video games. That's what we're talking about. If you bring in a soft quality signal, it's going to be recorded at that lesser quality, which is why gain staging is always important. You have to make sure you're getting good volume, but you can't go too far because then you get clipping, digital distortion in your recording, and that's irreversible. There's nothing you could do once it happens. So in
Samuel,
16 and 24-bit, we have limiters to help with that.
Fair to say, like 8-bit, right? Lo-fi, right? Lo-fi is good for your like garage band aesthetic, but not necessarily for your field recorder. When you're on Steven Spielberg's film set, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely
I mean, if you got a shot in a living room with two people and you're hearing this kind of constant noise, it just sounds wrong.
Maybe the Zoom marketing team can steal this one. So like lo-fi circle with the line through it, just maybe buttons on. I don't know.
I like it.
I'm not a marketing person. Okay, so 32-bit float, dual AD converters in the F6. When I got the F6 in my hands, how does that relate to when I'm setting knobs, I'm setting gain settings? What is it doing for me at the moment I'm tracking, and then when I'm editing?
So in 32-bit float, the entire dynamic spectrum is going to be recorded at an equal quality, meaning it doesn't matter if it comes in loud, comes in soft, the same exact quality is going to be put to that audio. So no matter how low you record, you're going to be able to bring that file into your DAW and raise the volume, which if you do that in 24-bit, you're raising the noise right along with the good signal. And 32-bit float, our audio waveforms are clean. So when we raise that volume, we're not adding a bunch of noise.
And on the how flip side, much can I raise the volume? I mean, we talking 10 dB, 20 dB?
Limitless. You can add 90 dB, 100 dB, and you're going to get the audio quality that you should have had the whole time if you had the volume set correctly, but you just do it in post-production.
Limitless. Quite a claim.
And so, I've always been under the impression I have to get my gain structure set properly, right? And before I hit that record button. And if I'm following along with what you're saying, I really don't need to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, I thought we just used irreversible, and now we're talking about limitless. I mean, I love the vocabulary we've got going on today's Geer Talk.
Talking gear.
Samuel, we've got a segment here on the show called Prove It, Let's Do It. So I feel like,
I like
we
it.
can't just tell the Gear Talk
Talking gear.
audience that we can just add limitless amounts of gain in post. I bet you've got like a pre-baked cake in the oven, an audio file for us to help demonstrate exactly what we're talking about here.
It's true. I'm asked to prove this all the time, and I understand why, because we are so used to what we have all learned in 24-bit, where we have to set the gain correctly, which, by the way, not only do I not have to worry about how I set my gain, I don't have to set the gain at all. When you're in 32-bit float on the F6, there is no gain adjustment. You won't find it because you don't need to adjust it. The set gains in the dual AD converters does all the work for you. And the dynamic range is large enough that we're never actually going to clip our audio. So let's jump.
If you can't find the gain setting, it's because we didn't put it in there. Right?
Correct.
I mean, that
Stop looking
is
for
so counterintuitive to every audio engineer's world up until now. Right? That gain knob has been like, you better know where that is and where it's set, and you guys have pulled it off.
And especially in the world of recording dialogue, where people can go from shouting to whispering and back in an instant, hand on that gain knob can be really important sometimes. But in this case, not going to find it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Okay, so what are we looking at here?
So I've got an audio file here.
Awesome.
This was
recorded we see you.
With the F6. And because of 32-bit float magic, if you will, which allows us to do whatever changes we need to in post-production, we allow you to record post-fader, which is not something that you can do in 24-bit because you would actually lose the audio if your fader's too low, and it will clip if your audio is too high. So with the F6, we created this file, and we have this first section where I set the fader to where you would normally find it, and it sounds like this.
Use the F6 to record audio to video anywhere you need to go.
And that audio sounds the way it should. I recorded that correctly, and it's good to go. Now, in the next section, this was obviously recorded way too hot, volume up way too high, and theoretically, this audio is lost.
Use the F.
Obviously distorted. The good news is in 32-bit float, you're never actually going to be distorted. This is just clipping the mix engine. I could bring that volume down to where I need it to be.
Use the F6 to record audio to video anywhere you need to go.
And it sounds exactly the way it should have the entire time. Now, this last section seems to be complete silence. However,
the audio.
I'm going to raise 15 dB, 30 dB, 45 dB. Still looks like there's almost nothing. 60 dB, 75 dB, 90 dB, a little bit more.
Okay, Sam, now before you press play, we got to just make sure we're we're understanding. You're adding 90 dB. Are we at 90? Are we more than 90?
We're at about 96 right now.
Oh, let's go to 100. It's such a nice round number. Okay, so now normally what you might expect to hear with 100 dB of gain added in post is some amount of noise in that signal. Can we hear the clean signal, not this boosted signal yet, but one of the previous examples, and then we'll go back to back with the 100 dB added?
Yep, so this first section, this was the one I recorded at the level. If I was setting my levels correctly, it would have been.
Use the F6 to record audio to video anywhere you need to go.
And now let's jump over to this section where I had the fader literally turned all the way down. It seemed to be silence. And
use the F6 to record audio to video anywhere you need to go.
And it sounds exactly the same as when I had the level set correctly. The system of the F6 really means as long as you plug in your mic and you hit the record button, there will be audio on that SD card you can use.
Wow.
So we have some shocked looks on our faces. I feel like one more time. Oh, okay, we got away from the show. That really is amazing, Samuel. Now, we feel like we need one more layer of prove it, let's do it. So, Samuel, we want to thank you for your time. Please stick around because we want to say goodbye in a little bit. But we have an F6 here at Audio Gear that we have set up. There it is. And we've got some inputs plugged in. And who's monitor? Oh, there he is. Exactly.
Exactly.
Let's get in exactly. There we go. We're going to get our use out of exactly. Do we trademark that yet, Justin? Go ahead and register exactly. And here we are with Brandon.
Brandon is here.
Geer Talk co-host episode 1 and 2 is now Geer Talk episode 3 talent demonstration. So Brandon's here. Brandon is a drummer for those who don't know. You can catch him at Staples Center during Laker games whenever we do Laker games again at the Staples Center. He's going to demonstrate some audio input for us coming into our F6. But first things first, Zach, why don't we get set up for that 32-bit float that Samuel was talking about?
All right, awesome. So very easy unit to navigate. Go ahead and hit the menu buttons. Go ahead and hit record. Right now you can see it's set to 24-bit linear. I'm going to change that over to 32-bit. All right, we're all set.
And how's our sample rate? Are we? Let's do 96K. Why not? You know, let's live a little bit.
All right, we're
let's get
set
as high
to
quality as
96K.
possible.
All right, set there as well.
Okay, so we've got our file format figured out. We are using the 32-bit float, which is exactly what we want to do. Now, before we get to our input stage, because you're going to be hearing these microphones live through the broadcast, we have 2 outputs available to us. Besides recording directly to the SD card, we've got a line out, which we're using to go into our broadcast rig. Zach, can you show us where we manipulate which of our inputs are routed to our outputs?
Of course. So, of course, same menu button, go into your output section. We have a headphone out and a line out. We're going to be messing with the line out right here. Go right into routing. And as you can tell, we have channels 1 and 2 and 4 and 5 routed post.
And that post designation, so we can route either pre-fader or post-fader to either the headphone or the line output. Now, we're not doing any headphone monitoring here, but we could. And if you're the F6 engineer, maybe you want to monitor pre-fader in your headphones. Maybe you want to record to the SD card, or in our case, to the line out post-fader. Okay, so we've got kind of the structure of our F6 setup. Brandon, real quick, give us 1 hit on our kick. Give us 1 hit on our snare. Give us 1 hit on our tom drum. Okay, so we did not see input signal on our tom drum. Now, Zach, I think that is because I've got a condenser microphone which requires phantom power on both the tom and the overhead.
All right, and those are plugged into 4 and 5. So I'm going to go ahead and engage phantom power on 4 and 5. So I'm going into my input section, and they require 48 volt, correct?
Now that's a good point. So these mics require full 48 volt phantom power.
So we can come in here because we can adjust the phantom power voltage from 48 to 24. We are set. So we come back up, and now we have to engage the phantom power on each channel. We are on input 4. So where you want to engage is right here where you see source. You're going to want to have the one that has source with pH in parentheses, which means phantom power is engaged. And I got to do it to one more channel. Come down here. All right, phantom power set up as well.
So very, very common scenario. Different microphones, typically dynamic microphones, do not require phantom power. Condenser microphones do. If you're not getting input signal, you always want to double check whether your microphones require phantom power or not. We've got phantom power available individually on every input channel on, well, frankly, every Zoom product we've been talking about, but specifically on the F6. Now, Zach, in that menu, in the PFL menu, I saw a couple other options for us. We selected our source as the phantom power enabled mic input. What else are we looking at?
Of course, you have your high pass filter and your limiter. You also have phase and delay. Why would I ever want to change my phase?
Yeah, a great audio engineer trick. So let's say, for example, we had 2 microphones on our snare drum. One pointed from the top down and one pointed from the bottom up. Now those microphones would be at exactly opposite directions. So if we want to correct or invert the phase of one of our microphones so we don't get any phase cancellation issues, we would enable the phase invert on one of the microphones in that example. For the delay, you might have, let's say, a single sound source with 2 microphones spaced a certain distance apart. So speed of sound, roughly speaking, we're traveling every 1 foot of distance takes 1 millisecond of time. If you want to time align 2 microphones spaced out, you might want to delay one of the inputs so that the sound arrival time at the recorder is the same. Again, we can activate these on a per channel basis on the F6. Okay, so we've got everything set up. You should be hearing all of this now. Let's start working with the talent. So Brandon, actually, before we get there, why don't Zach walk us through the entire process of enabling a track and how do we start recording?
So it's very, very hard. It's this nice little button right here that hits record. Oh, wait, I'm done. Never mind. That was quite easy.
Okay, so we are recording now. Brandon, can you give us, let's say something, now this is just a practice run. This is a sound check, if you will. So something medium tempo, medium volume, keep it funky, you know. Let's hear it. Okay, could have been funkier. It's early, you know, we're gonna dial up the funk as we keep going here. Okay, now let's make this next one the real one. So this is the one that we really wanna make sure it's great. So we haven't set our gain settings, right, Zach?
No, we haven't. But from what Samuel was saying, it kind of doesn't seem like we really have to. But let's test it.
We're going to trust that the talent can give us basically the exact same thing at the exact same volume, slightly funkier. Ready, set, go. Okay, clearly not the same volume. You know, the rock star musicians of the world can just, you know, be wildly inconsistent. That's a little industry secret there. So, Brandon, you know, that was appropriate amount of funkiness, but not quite the volume we were looking for. So I need you up a scotch, you know, just a tiny bit. See what you can do. By the way, Roscoe's back, and you could see him sort of wincing in surprise and maybe a little bit of shock. Okay, so that was very, very loud, but I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, we're just going to have to trust 32-bit float.
Okay, so now here, you know, the core philosophy at Geer Talk.
Talking gear.
Prove it, let's do it. So we want to give you the Geer Talk
Talking Gear
audience a chance to prove it for yourselves. So we're going to make these tracks available to you. If you go to the Audio Gear website, audiogear.com, gear spelt with
2 E's,
audiogear.com, you can sign up for our newsletter. Everyone who signs up today, you're going to get an email with a link to download these tracks. You can load them into your DAW, you can add 100 dB of gain, you can pull 40 dB down, you can test this for yourself, and we encourage you to do so. Also,
we actually have, from our friends at Zoom, a H4n Pro all black that we are going to be giving away. So make sure you go to the website, subscribe for our newsletter, and have a chance to win this H4n Pro. Thanks.
We're going to post the winner on Facebook tomorrow, so please sign up. You'll get all the Geer Talk
Talking Gear
updates ongoing, and we really are happy about what Zoom was able to provide for us. So we want to make sure we get a happy Geer Talk
Talking Gear
audience member to win this. Justin, how are we doing? Do we have any questions from the chat that we want to address?
I think we're all good for now.
Okay, no questions. Let's cut over to Samuel. Samuel, we want to thank you for your time.
Thanks for joining us, Sam.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. It was fun.
Yeah, we'll have you back when all of the new products you're not done releasing yet are out.
Yes.
Please come back, give the Geer Talk audience
Talking Gear
first look at anything else coming. Sound good to you, Sam?
Sounds good to me. I look forward to it.
Okay, so we want to thank the crew.
Thank you, guys. Mr. Kyle, Mr. Justin.
Did we program a camera feed so we can see the crew?
They never did.
The crew does not want to be on camera. We have a team member behind us. Roscoe, no. Cheryl, no. Okay. No one else wants to be on camera here at Geer Talk.
Talking Gear.
Okay, so 2 weeks, we're back with Geer Talk.
Talking Gear.
Brandon and I talking about Shure conferencing solutions. And then in 4 weeks on Geer Talk,
Talking gear.
Zach and I are back.
Exactly.
Exactly. Justin, hit us with an exactly. If we can get exactly trending on social media,
That would be
it's going to be tough to crack the top 10 these days with trending terms, but
try.
I believe in the Geer Talk
Talking gear.
audience.
Just say like Taylor Swift exactly or something. Like, you gotta add an extra something searchable on there.
Justin, hit us with one more exactly, because it's been 20 years, everybody. 20 years of Zach Rickard. Here's looking forward to 20 more. Brandon, play us out. Not me.
Thank you, everybody.